One person doing it?
That's a husband and wife couple running this business. So yeah, both of them working. So which I'll show you a little bit later how they harvest out of it anyway. So this is a standard hive looking down on top, which might not show real good there. It's got a screen on top, so a fly wire screen, which is basically used so that when they aren't getting any honey and they need to feed sugar syrup, they can just lift the lid off, pull back that cloth gauze, and there's a wire gauze there. The bees aren't coming out from the top, but they can just top up the sugar feeder within the hive and just make life easier then. So they can go around and feed their hives really quickly, keep them sugared up and excited, and produce some raw jelly. Bit of stats in between the pictures. So they've got lots of beehives, 8.2 million beehives. They've got most of those beehives that are managed are the European honeybee, which was introduced back in the I can't remember now, 1950s it may be. No, it was earlier than that. And but they've also got Apis cerana, so the native Asian honeybee. But it is a different version. We've actually got the Asian honeybee Apis cerana that has invaded Australia and coming up in cans. That is a slightly different type to this version here. So they're both Apis cerana but different subtypes. The one that we've got in here is a Java subtype up around cans, and it's a pest bee. It out-competes the European honeybee and will attack hives and kill them. Whereas this Apis cerana, the Chinese one, it won't. The European honeybee will outcompete it. So, but it's their native bee, and they do produce honey off it, nowhere near as much as our honeybee. But because they don't produce as much, they get a higher price for the honey that does get produced. But they've got a vested interest, and they want to try and keep their native bee going, and so it is an industry that is keeping on going. But it just doesn't do as well as the European honeybee. Same sort of situation over in China as here in Australia, in that the hobbyist beekeepers way outnumber the commercial sized beekeepers that are doing it full time. There's way more hobbyist beekeepers than there is full-time beekeepers. But the majority of the beehives are within the full-time beekeepers as well. So it's a similar sort of situation. So China and Australia, a lot of things are the same, but there's a lot of things that are slightly different too. They've got 9,800 nectar and pollen plants, but they have about 30 main nectar plants, and that is a similar sort of situation to here in Australia as well. We've got a wide-ranging number of trees or eucalypts out there, but we've only got a small subset of that we actually produce honey out of, or a decent quantity of honey anyway. Honey yields on average of 30 kilo per hive, whereas on average we're producing 120 kilos per hive. Oh, my computer's going to blow up.
Either those stationary sites are fairly large. Do they have any regulation or control over spacing?
No, they didn't seem to have. In some areas they do, like in Beijing they do, because it's a city, and driving around the city, this is in Beijing, and this is one where we were going around and getting shown companies and we weren't seeing any bees, and we just driving on way back from a place and we saw beehives on the side of the road, so we just said stop. Within the Beijing area, yes, they do control where beehives can go, so that there isn't people going into places. In the co-op we went and saw just outside of Beijing, that is a restricted area, so only a certain amount of beehives can go in there, and that co-op controls that area as well. So there is some controls, but it didn't seem to be exactly the same as what we've got here.
Co-ops have territory.
Well, this particular co-op had territory, yes, and it was because it was like a national park or something, and so it was restricted as to what couldn't go in there. So they did say that that's not the same situation all over China, but this particular place had restrictions.
Were you aware of any pressure, with the increasing population for development to take over areas where the vegetation is or the hives are?
That's been a constant bane in China for many years. So they're very the general populace, like our interpreter, young girl, knew nothing about bees, but at the end of the trip she did. And she said the young people, they're very concerned about pollution, population growth, losing environment, all those sort of things.
Before you go on, Pete, I was just a bit worried we're going to run out of time. So would it be right if we say had a bit of time at the end and ask the questions? In general. No, it's good actually.
I'll speed things up too. This particular place, this was funny, and I put these pictures in because it was really funny. So we made this guy stop. There's his honey stall. There's his hives along the side of the road. So it's a 4-lane road, two lanes each way. Up the top here, there's more hives up here, and then there's a little shanty shack up there. That's his house. That's his extraction plant. That's his yard of bees up the top. All these hives down on the road are just dummy hives. They're just dead. They're just to attract the people in to buy the honey. Just the other side of his shanty that's up on top of the hill is a railway line. So this is within Beijing area. Yes, there's bush there, but it's also he's sandwiched in between about 50 metres in between a major road and a railway line. So they're just putting bees wherever they can. So this is his yard, which is what really struck us, because none of us have been to China before, which I'm sure everyone else has sort of seen too. It's a great contrast between technology and advancement and primitive sort of stuff. There's the solar panel in between some rough hives, and he's got a shanty shack, which is just covered with tarps and stuff just behind it, and that's where he's living and working and producing honey. Honey down there in his jars in his store was beautiful sample of honey, so couldn't fault it at all. And there's the railway line just the other side of his yard of bees. This is another contrast. This is a shop that the guy that showed this Royal Jelly production company has got a series of shops, 30 odd shops, chain of stores, which are health food stores. So you come in and you see the girls there. They're dressed up like a nurse. They'll quiz you. What's wrong with you? Righto. This is what's wrong with you. Here's some raw jelly. That'll fix you. Oh no, you've got something else wrong with you. Righto. Here's a mixture of honey and raw jelly, and that's this particular type of honey. That'll fix you. And so they'll prescribe whatever you need to fix whatever ailment you've got. So whether that be propolis, whether it be pollen, honey, raw jelly. And so they weren't qualified in any way apart from, which was again the big contrast that we sort of thought was quite different here in Australia. In order to do that sort of thing here in Australia, you'd have to be qualified and licensed and have checks done on you all the time to make sure you're doing the right thing. Chinese beekeeping has got problems. It's got varroa mite, and it's also got other mites as well. It's got Apis, the European honeybee, Apis mellifera. It's a problem for its native honeybee, Apis cerana. So that's a problem. They've got ageing beekeepers. They've got the next generation of beekeepers don't want to take over from their family business because it's too hard to work, and they want to get an education and go off and make $1 million in the city. So that's a problem. They've got increasing wages, and so they've got wages pressure on employing people. And they've got moisture in their honey. These are, apart from moisture in the honey, these are all the same sort of things that's happening in Australia as well, except for varroa mite. Except, all right. It's just aging beekeeping population and increasing wages. So it's similar issues to we've got here.
So their honey ferments if they've got moisture in it?
Their honey, yes, if there's too much moisture in the honey, it'll ferment. Yeah. And so they do have problems with that. And so and traditionally what they've done over in China is that they have honey as a drink rather than eating honey just on a teaspoon of honey. They'll whenever they said to us, do you want some honey? And we said, yeah, we'll take the honey. Then out come a cup of hot water and then the honey, and you dip the you dip the honey in, you mix it into the hot water and you have it as a drink. So that's the way they've traditionally eaten honey. And so they used to quite commonly be extracting their honey when they could just tip up the frame and just shake it out. So they're extracting it while it's still got a lot of moisture in there, and then they just consume it straight away. Now they're trying to educate their beekeepers and change that habit and let it stay in the hive longer so that the honey is ripened, and so then it'll store. And so then they don't get caught, because they have been caught for many, many years with honey they're trying to export or sell somewhere, and it's fermented and the drum's bulgy. So they've got similar sort of problems. So in terms of us, comparing us, if we get varroa mite, yeah, it'll be a big problem for us as well. But the Asian beekeeper population, an increase in wages, even though the wages are much lower level, it's still a problem for them. Top things that we considered, or I considered as big things to learn from China, so over there, is these different ideas, which I'll just skip through quickly now. Quality assurance, China has always been seen as perception of shoddy workmanship and shoddy quality. I think my personal opinion is that they got a big kick in the bum when they got kicked off the world market because they had residues within, contaminations within their honey, and I think they've made a conscious effort to make sure that doesn't happen again. Every big company we went to had top-notch facilities. This was a pathway with viewing windows into each one of the production rooms that we couldn't go into, but you could look in through the window. And it was like going through a pristine hospital production line. So they're changing their systems so that their quality assurance and their testing for their own residues is a very high standard, and so that they will never get caught out again, I think personally is their plan. In saying that, I'll also put a caveat on that as well, is that we were just taken to good looking places as well, I think, and so we might have seen some of the other places, but these places, they were top notch. So that's in through a window, just lots of clean gear. At the end of that table there is a hatch to go through into the next room, so that then the product moves through from one room to another through a little portal. So this is a honey processing room, bulk honey being put into tanks. This down on the bottom right here, this is the common container that their honey is stored in. So they did have 44-gallon drums as well, which is common over here, but this was by far the most common container for their bulk honey. Holds about 70 kilos of honey, and they use them still because a lot of the stuff is still very much manual labour. So 70 kilos, 2 men can lift it. Whereas a drum, you get to the stage where you can't sort of manoeuvre it very easily at all. This is a raw jelly production line. As you can see, they're done up like surgeons. This is a picture of one of their labs within one of their operations. So again, all many benches to be doing a lot of testing on their honey. Raw jelly. Has anyone ever tasted raw jelly? I tasted raw jelly when I was over there. I thought it tasted disgusting. It tastes, talking with Steve earlier tonight, we talked about leatherwood honey from Tassie, and yeah, how that tastes disgusting too, but I think raw jelly tastes worse. I'll show you. So this is raw jelly harvesting. So all these bars down here are queen cells. We've got all the queen cells on them. We've got one girl here that's got a set of tweezers, and she pulls the bar out, and each one of them bars has got about 66 cells on there. In that cell, it's got the wax around the outside, it's got the raw jelly, and it's got the grub that's growing in there and going to be fed up into a queen. So this girl here, set of tweezers going through every cell and pulling out the grub and putting it in the bowl. The other girl over on the far side there, she's got a little spatula, like a little ladle, and scooping it in and scooping the raw jelly out of the cell cup, every single cell cup. So it's a very manual process in terms of harvesting the raw jelly. After this, in order then to produce more raw jelly, each one of these cell cups has to then go and have another very small larvae hand grafted and put into that cell cup, so then it can be put back into the hive and they can feed it up with raw jelly again. So that's why basically, because we haven't grown up and evolved with raw jelly being the health cure-all, it's not part of our culture, and as well it's just so labour intensive to do, that's why we've never developed it.
So they can't stick the grub back into the cell again?
Not that grub, it's already grown big.
Right.
So it's already gone quite big.
What do they do with the grub once they've got them in the container?
These particular grubs here, after that we went off to lunch and they took that with us and they fried them up for us with some egg and everything and...
Serious?
Serious, yeah. Tasted pretty good too, so...
Better than the raw jelly.
Over on the far side, the tubs over on the green cloth table, that's raw jelly tubs, about 1 kilo in each tub. So yeah, but each little plug of raw jelly is only, well, as big as your little fingernail sort of thing as it comes out, so it takes a lot of them to make 1 kilo.
So is it like a honey or is it like a paste?
It's like a paste, it's sort of like a mayonnaise. One thing, this guy, he didn't tell us till after about the 3rd day when we're finished, he's come up with an idea as to how, because he's got an ageing beekeeper population, the kids don't want to take over the raw jelly production, too much hard work, you know, doing all this all the time, no good. So he's come up with an idea, an easy way to do it, so which is basically just extract the raw jelly out. So what he's come up with is, up on the top right hand side there, is basically a 3-4 frame honey extractor, hand wind. He's put another gear on it to make it go faster. What he's then developed is a tray, which he puts these cell bars in the tray, and then he spins it. And in between, underneath those cell bars, is a wire mesh, a sieve. So that then throws all the raw jelly out, the sieve catches the grub, the raw jelly gets sieved through it, and comes out, and it all comes out in one process. So you've got, in this tray that he developed, and he showed us this prototype, and he actually then, 6 months later, he brought it over and he gave it to me, but I've got it, someone else has got it at the moment, I'm having a play with it. Yeah, you put 4 of these cell bars in, so there's 66 on each of those cell bars, so you've got 250 odd raw jelly cells per tray, and you have 2 of those trays within the extractor extracting at once. So this is his idea to actually make it more efficient for getting the raw jelly out for him. And this is, he was telling us, you know, for the 3 days, come on, you should get into raw jelly, it'd be great, you know, you'll get paid heaps. And we were saying, oh, don't know. And then he showed us this and we thought, oh, maybe.